Two big wins then, Gav, for both Atalanta and Milan. Just starting with Atalanta, for those who maybe don't know, you look at it, this is a massive game, one of the biggest in the club's history, yet it's not a full stadium. Just explain why.
It's not a full stadium because it's not their stadium. This game isn't being played in Bergamo, where Atalanta is from. Their stadium is shut down because it's being renovated. It's going to be renovated all summer, hopefully be ready early for next season. Clearly, they did not expect that they could use the home support in the last two games of this season. So this match was actually played some 100-odd miles away in Sassuolo. And as you can imagine, no Sassuolo fans there. So virtually everybody there was Atalanta. But obviously, they didn't sell out the stadium.
Let's talk about the game then for Atalanta, Gab. There were some key players missing. It wasn't pretty, but they got it done.
Yeah, and I think there was some factor of nerves. They had a pretty raucous support there from the ultras, but Genoa can make things awkward for you when in reality the pressure's off. Pasalic, I thought, had a really hard time there, dropping into that front three. But then much better in the second half. That early goal from Barrow really sending them on their way.
And very much fate in their hands, isn't it?
Yeah,
you win those final two matches, you're fine.
Well, without question. But one of those two final matches is away to Juventus. That comes next week. And with AC Milan just 3 points behind them and two winnable games in Frosinone and Sassuolo to come. And more importantly, AC Milan have the head-to-head on both Atalanta and Roma. So if you're AC Milan right now, despite all the troubles all season long and all the speculation, right now you're thinking if we win those two, we have every chance of sneaking into the Champions League.
You do have to say that of all these teams that are involved for this run into the top four in Italy, the one team that has an identity, that you know exactly who they are out on the field, the team that opens up and plays, that is exciting to watch, that has exciting players in the attack, that got a little nervous today, but you see something on the field that you can appreciate is Atalanta. The other ones are all over the place. You don't know what you're going to get from Roma. You don't know what you're going to get from Lazio. You don't even know what you're going to get from Milan or Inter for that matter. In the case of Atalanta, I think you know what you're going to get, and I think that consistency in the end will be rewarded. The work that they have done up until this point puts them in a position where now they can take this step forward. It's now up to the players and up to the manager to make sure that they close it out.
Meanwhile, for Milan, as Shaka mentioned, they've got two very winnable games coming up. This was obviously a huge result today.
It really was. And, I hate saying it's not about the performance because I think it usually is about the performance, but it was not about the performance. It was just about getting the result home. Fiorentina were on a really poor run of form. They had protests all over town against the ownership before this match. So in some ways, this could have galvanized them. As we saw in the highlights, they had their chances. Milan hung in there. Of course, no Paquetá, no Biglia, really no creative midfielders whatsoever. But they still, got that goal through the individual effort, and they hung on for dear life. I still think there's still a long shot for the top four, but it is possible. But I'll still be very surprised if we see Gattuso back next season.
A long shot then, Gab. Are you going for the two that are there at the moment then, Atalanta and Inter, to join Napoli and Juve in the Champions League next season?
I wish you asked me this after tomorrow night, if because I genuinely believe that if Roma beat Juve, which is not unthinkable, then I think that momentum could possibly carry them to the finish line. Atalanta have answered all the questions, but of course, they falter next week. It's going to be tough. So I find this so difficult to call. I wish you wouldn't ask me. I'll go Inter and Roma right now.
Boys? Who have you got?
I think Atalanta get the job done. I think somehow they go to Turin and get at least a point, which will be enough. But at the same time,
Atalanta and Inter?
Atalanta and Inter. Inter have Chievo. I think that sees it for them.
He was done with you. He just said Atalanta, Inter. He wanted to move on.
Okay.
Yeah, Atalanta, Inter.
Atalanta, Inter.
Yeah.